T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Back at it, the Dream 3 podcast. Here for episode 11. Neil is battling a flu. We call it the Jordan flu game. This is what it's going to be tonight.
I'm COVID negative, so we're all good.
COVID negative. It's okay. We're 250 miles away from each other anyway. So
that's right.
Episode 11. Remember, we're brought to you by protectyourslabs.com. Use code DREAM3 to get 10% off your products. Always protect your high quality slabs, especially if it's a LeBron James car that's worth over $500,000. Do it. Or even
Who's got one of those?
I don't know. I saw Jerry post some awesome photos of some cards, some LeBron autos in his
Not me.
In his product. It's not me. But we also got Graded Card Solutions, gradedship.com. Use code DREAM15, get 15% off your purchase, because you can't trust UPS or the post office to ship your cards without damaging them. We all run into that.
That's true.
As Neil just collapses everything that's on his table right now. Okay.
Pretty much.
Chill out. But if you've been following Neil's Instagram page, you have seen an amazing amount of game-used autographed cards. Dude, your Rob Gronkowski was sick. Like, your Brian Urlacher card was sick. Like, you're getting way ahead of me. Like, you're very happy that I scored these Ed Reed cards, which was nice. Both of them games.
I picked up that Ed Reed. I told you about that, didn't I?
Yeah. So that was good. So game used, that's where we're going. That's our future. That's kind of where we're pointed at. Game used for because you never know what Fanatics is going to do. So that's going to be our look towards the future. But enough about us. We have a very special guest today. Legendary Brownsburg High School football player, played at Bowling Green State University, was the MAC Defensive Player of the Year in 2012, was drafted in the 2013 NFL Draft, the 198th pick overall in the 6th round by the Houston Texans, won a Super Bowl, played on a torn calf. He's the strongest guy in Brownsburg. He's also the best looking guy in Brownsburg. His name,
that's for sure,
is Chris Jones. Chris, welcome, my brother.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Let us be very frank up front. Me and Chris have been very good friends for well over 15 years. So, and no one cares about Neil. And we all went to the same high school. Neil's a little younger.
No, Chris beat up on me when I was a freshman, when you guys were seniors.
Well, that was the point. That's what you get for coming up to the varsity team your freshman year. Because I remember picking on all you guys. Like John Runyon's younger brother. I remember blasting him he was on kickoff return, and I just straight up decleated him. But hey, that's what you get when you step up with the big dogs.
That's right.
Let's break it down. So Chris was not a original Brownsburg guy. Chris, you were originally from Michigan, and you ended up moving to our high school. What was it, our sophomore year?
Yes, middle of 2000, was it January 2007, sophomore year.
So we're in the weight room, and I see this large human being come into the weight room while we're working out, wearing a Letterman jacket that looked like a Michigan-style Letterman jacket. And I thought, how are we recruiting college kids already? And, you come to find out, not only is he the strongest person in the weight room, he's also probably the hardest working guy there. And he was basically the best player on our team for years to come, because our team, especially our year, was pretty trash. There was 5 of us that actually ended up playing college football. But let's be honest, our whole, and I'm not going to get into the coaching situation. You know how I feel about this, Neil, but we'll skip right over that. We know where that's going. But I feel, if I don't say so myself, if Chris played in the days of social media the way we are now, he would have not to say that Bowling Green State University is not a good school. It is a fine school, but I think Chris was well under recruited. Neil, your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean,
so obviously Chris tore it up while we were in high school. Chris, you ended up going to Bowling Green State University. I know we were really excited, all 5 of us who were really close on the football team. Kind of that experience. I think it was your freshman year. You get to play in a bowl game. I think it was the Idaho Potato Bowl. And I think we were texting back and forth because your first kind of like level of competition, you're going up against future first-round draft pick Mike Iupati. Like, tell me about that experience.
Man, I tell you what, there's one memory that will forever be in my mind about that game and Mike Iupati. There was one play, I think we were on the 12-yard line, and I think they ran a dive, and he literally just did one reach step, took me in his left hand, and started pushing me back about 3 yards. And then our middle linebacker came to fill the A-gap, and he just grabbed him with his right hand, and they just started walking both of us back. That forever is just in my mind with how strong that man was. But, yeah, but super nice guy. I talked to him after the game. I got a picture with him and all that. But yeah.
I remember seeing the picture after the game, and I remember watching it, and it was like, that's kind of for a freshman, you started as a true freshman, like right out of the box, like this guy's a first round draft pick, and ended up having a great career in the NFL. Like, was that eye opening as of, hey, if I want to get to the next level, like this is kind of how I need to be this big, this strong, this fast, or I need to work harder. Like, did that like kickstart that fire going into your sophomore season?
I would say so. It was a good point of motivation. Yeah, I mean, just seeing somebody that big move that fast and understand that that's what pretty much everybody is like in the league. It definitely lit a fire underneath me, and I knew during the offseason I had a lot of work to put in. But yeah, he's also very special. But yeah, definitely playing against Mike opened up my eyes.
For sure. And then we go through, the rest of your Bowling Green State University career. I feel like as the years go on, you kind of you separated yourself not only as a great player, but I think a great leader on that team. If you look at it, you were, all MAC first team a couple times. You ended up being the defensive player in the MAC Conference of the Year in 2012. I mean, what do you take away from your time at Bowling Green State University? Like the ideas that, like, because when I know for myself at Indiana State, like I feel like some of those off-season workouts or preseason workouts that, that pushed you mentally and physically to the max. Like you look back now and one guy will post a picture of maybe one of those workouts and it's kind of euphoric. Like, you know what, we made it through that. We can make it through anything. Like, and you can use that for the rest of your life. Can you take away something from Bowling Green that you did that you're like, because I did that, I can go through anything forever?
Wow. Yeah, you're talking about, winter workouts and the mat drills, the way that builds your character, because you go through so much adversity and, you're there with your teammates. I think there's a combination of, hey, we're going through this together. I tell you, even within my my personal life now, when I go to work, my mindset is still very much so team based. And I think it's because of playing football for so long, going through what I went through at Bowling Green. Building camaraderie during those times, it lets you understand how important that is for whatever you do. Being able to work as a team and work with others to, complete tasks that aren't always easy, get you through the hardest times. I definitely took that with me through the NFL and, through my career now.
For sure. Now, going into your, like, were you getting, because you were starting to become a good standout player into your sophomore year. Were you getting NFL interest going into your junior year? Were you, were scouts showing up to practices? Because I know even at State, you would see a couple scouts here or there for a couple of guys, but you never knew if they were looking or talking to anybody. Were you being able to recognize that?
I know there was a few guys, obviously my junior, going into my junior year, that were going to be seniors that were getting looks. I think kind of there was a lot more talk about me potentially getting into the league at that point. But nothing specifically that I remember as far as my, I guess, interest from any scouts or anything like that. I just know guys who were coming in to check out other players that, scouts obviously come in and they look for the guys coming in for the following year. So I know I was probably on some radars, but nothing was mentioned to me.
For sure. So you end up becoming MAC Defensive Player of the Year. Great honor. You're the best player in the MAC. You get invited to the NFL Combine. That's one of the dreams of anybody who plays football and who wants to make it to that league. Like, what's that feeling like? Like getting not a regional combine. Like, you're one of less than 300 people that get to walk inside Lucas Oil Stadium and do the underwear Olympics, as we call it. We did that for all the years throughout high school, going to the Nike combines and the skills and drills camps, but you get to do it on the biggest stage in front of the biggest people in the world. Like, what is that experience like? Like, I sit in that stadium all the time, but to be able to compete, athletically in front of people in your underwear that really care about how fast you are and how big you are and how big your hands are and what I would say what your junk looks like, but I'm throwing it out there. But
I'm sure that's taken into consideration.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But
yes.
Yeah. So, like, where were you, or how did you find out you got invited to the combine? And then once you got there, what was that feeling and experience like?
So I was actually a late enrollee to the combine. Actually, my college coach, Dave Clausen, did me a real solid. He knew, trying to remember, I think it was maybe Scott Frost. That name kind of is what's coming up right now as far as the director of the combine. I might be wrong with that, but I remember he actually called the director of the combine and told him that he needed to get me in. So they almost didn't even give me the invite until Coach Clausen called and got me that invite. But I remember talking to Coach Clausen and him actually telling me, like, hey, congratulations, you're going to the combine. So Coach Clausen actually told me after his conversation with the director, and then the director called me, and it was crazy because that might have been the beginning of February, and obviously it was at the end of February. So I had already been training, getting ready for pro day, but to find out like here in 3 weeks I'm going to the combine, I'm like, oh well,
got to speed that training up now.
Yeah. So, but then getting there, man, it was just it was a real surreal experience. Watching, even playing college football, you watch some of the greats play, and when you get there and you're watching, who were the other defensive linemen I was with? You had your Sheldon Richardsons of the world, Star Lotulelei, I think that was his name.
Yep,
he was there. You see all those. I was 2013.
13?
Yeah.
There's a lot of defensive linemen who went that year.
Yeah. 13, 14 or 13?
13.
2013
okay.
combine. Yeah. You get there and you watch all those guys run, man, and you see them move, and it's surreal because you're just like, can I keep up with these guys? Can I do what they do? And then you find out that you are, maybe you're behind a little bit, but
football's football. Like, so Neil, some of the defensive tackles in that draft, Jonathan Haskins or Haskins, Kewan Short, Jonathan Jenkins.
He went to Purdue, didn't he?
Yeah, Sylvester Williams, Sheldon Richardson, Starlo Tulele, Sharif Floyd. There were some monsters in that draft.
A lot of those guys went first round that you just mentioned.
A lot of those guys went first round because there's a good stat at the end of this that we'll get to once we get into your career.
You went in a good year because 2014 was an even better class.
I'm trying to remember.
Aaron Donald.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, get off Aaron Donald's sack, Neil.
Hey, David Clowney was there. I worked that combine. I worked that combine in 2014. I was on the medical staff team for that.
Neil's a big Aaron Donald honk.
Yeah.
Big Aaron Donald.
He's a freak.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
He's a monster. But correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but were you battling an ankle injury at the combine?
Yeah, so I actually went down to train at IMG for a few weeks, and during one of our test runs, I was actually kind of embarrassing. I was running a 40, but I had a pair of cleats on, and they help me out here, Neil. Is it inverted?
Yeah, probably.
Inverted my feet a little too much.
Your ankle and like that.
Yeah. So in the third step, I just popped my ankle, and I finished the 40 though. Finished the 40 and then kind of went off, and I knew I did something wrong. Just had a small sprain, but it was like right before we went into the combine. But I was able to. It
doesn't help, that's for sure.
It didn't help, no.
No, it didn't help because unfortunately, you know, and I don't want to throw this out here, but Chris did have the slowest 40 out of the defensive lineman. But, you know, it doesn't matter because you got drafted.
He still got drafted.
He still got drafted, and there's a bunch of guys on that list who did not. So
did I really have the slowest 40?
You did.
Oh my gosh, that's
you did at the combine, but you picked it up at your pro day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one stat that I do remember. Like me and Tommy were watching it at home, and we were just like, "Ooh, like it's part of it, you know. It's whatever. It's who lasts the longest."
Right.
So we're
that's
past,
right. You got a ring. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. So we're past the combine. We're going into the draft. You have your agents. Like, are you hearing anything? Is your agent telling you, hey, we're going to go in this round? These teams are calling me. Were you having any chatter? Because I know you did your draft party at BGSU. That was, I don't remember if it was on TV or if I just saw pictures of it or if there were cameras there. I know at least BGSU had cameras there,
yeah,
but
BGSU did.
But were you hearing, you know, is it one of those things where the first 2 days you know where you're going, you're going to be a later round pick, so you don't watch the first day, or is it kind of like one of those where, I got to watch every round because I don't know?
You know, I watched the first day just because I like to watch the first day. There was no word about me going on the first day at all. I was actually, my athletic trainer at Bowling Green worked with the Bears, and then obviously Coach Clausen was good friends with the guy, or Schiano at Tampa Bay. So those were the two teams that I heard were most interested, were the Bears and the Buccaneers. And they said I would go anywhere between the third and the fifth round, both teams. So now I'm just starting to think that's just what every team says, is somewhere between third and fifth if you're like a mid-round guy. But that's what I was hearing beforehand. So, you know, obviously going into that second day, I was like, maybe it's possible. And then second day goes by, and you know, we're still continuing the party, and it's, you know, you're just kind of sitting there at that point. You're getting calls from different teams saying, hey, if you don't get taken, we'd love to have you as a free agent. So I was getting a bunch of those calls. So finally, when I got that call from Houston, it was I didn't know what it was going to be. So yeah,
it was more of a kind of like a sigh of relief, because, you know, you get enough of those phone calls and it's kind of just like you're sitting there, and at that point, do you get to a point where you're like, well, I don't care where I'm drafted now, I just want to play football?
Yeah. That's where I was the whole time. Honestly, I was like, I just want to go somewhere and, you know, be given a chance.
Mm-hmm. If you weren't drafted, did you have any idea of where you wanted to go?
There were a couple teams. I got to think back now. I know Tampa was one of them just because of the Schiano connection, and they ran the 4-3 system there, obviously with Gerald McCoy. And I was seen more as like a nose tech or a 3 technique. So I felt kind of more of like a vertical type player. So I feel like that was somewhere I would go. I'm trying to remember where my agent and I were talking. I think there was one more team. I want to say even the Patriots. I know I didn't fit the system, but there was like some talks between the Patriots and my agent. Those are the two teams that come to mind right now.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Good
because I remember
Belichick, he knows what he wants.
Of course. And you know, what's funny is, like, you know, I'm a big draft honk, and that's my sacred day. Now this was before I was racing, so I was able to sit down and watch, and I would watch every pick. And I remember Chris getting picked because I was at my parents' house. I was upstairs in the loft watching it. Boom. All the pictures, texted everybody, like, you know, freaking out. I'm more excited than he is getting drafted because, you know, one of my friends just got drafted to the NFL, and, you know, I'm just some crappy FCS football player. And, you know, here's what's funny, Neil, and all my friends have championship rings for football except for me. Every single one of them 2 of them have national championships. 1 has a conference championship. 1 has a Super Bowl ring. I got nothing.
Hey, I got nothing too.
Well,
you both have great personalities.
I have I'm hoping for a drag racing championship ring. That's all.
I don't think that wins you a championship, though.
It wins me a life, though.
It does win you.
It does.
Yeah, and then you get to have a kid.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited for that. That's gonna be fun.
That'll be fun.
That will be fun. So you get drafted by Houston. Is it now? Kind of. This is where I really get interested because I don't know what it's like. Like, is it? I get drafted. I got to be in Houston the next day.
I believe that's how it is kind of now. Because they pushed back the draft. When I was actually there, I had about 2 weeks of like kind of like a buffer. So draft happened, then I had to report May 9th. You probably will remember the weekend that the draft happened more than I would the days. I think it was about 2 weeks, and I had to be in Houston about the 7th or 9th of May.
Because they had rookie camp, right?
Yeah, they had
to do rookie camp first that second week.
Mm-hmm. Well, they do rookie camp right before the start of OTAs, I believe, because I think they were doing off-season workouts before then. Doing the.
I remember that because they did that after I left, and so I worked with the Colts in 2014, the 2013-2014 season, and they had the draft and they still had the draft in April, and then we didn't see the guys until I think mid-May. I think it was like May 15th, May 13th, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Before, so they had 2 weeks before we saw them in the room, and then we had to do physicals and all that stuff.
Did they do practices with the Colts, like the actual rookies?
They did rookie practice, like rookie OTAs.
Okay.
It was more like player development than it was true practice and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And they had a lot of their like free agent guys who like they were just trying to make rosters. So I mean, you had a couple of the vets there kind of just to help lead, but it was mostly just the rookies.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chris, when you get into Houston, is it, it's a crash course in, learning the playbook, learning everything in the system? Like, do you feel that you're trying to play catch up? Is the game faster, or is it just playing football and I just need to learn the playbook as soon as possible?
Well, it was a big adjustment for me because playing at Bowling Green, we played strictly just a 4-3 system. But I was put straight at nose tackle in a 3-4 system, something I've never done before. So learning the playbook was a little bit of an adjustment. I don't think that was as hard as me learning how to play nose tackle in the NFL against the centers that can move the way they move.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the biggest adjustment for me, was just learning how to play, no weight on my hands, kind of like a Vince Wilfork style, just, brush my fingertips on the ground and try to, sustain 2 men, all day. That was something that was a little bit bigger adjustment for me.
That's what I was about to ask. Was Vince on that team when you got drafted?
No, I was with Vince for 2 years in New England.
Okay, yeah. Because I knew he went to Houston, but I couldn't.
That was
couldn't
after.
remember when he moved.
That was after.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
After his Patriots run.
Yeah.
All
right.
So, like you said, that big adjustment, because I remember, after seeing you later on down the line, you went from being, a different type of body at BGSU to like when you were in the NFL for, a year or two, like your body changed. You leaned out a lot. I'm sure you got stronger. You looked bigger. Like, is there a huge difference between, like, say, a college strength performance and meal regiment to an NFL?
Meal regiment, yes, and off-season training. So, as you know, in college, you have your winter phase, and then you get into spring ball. You're still training then, and then you're in your summer phase. Your summer phase lasts in 8 weeks. And then you get a week off, and you're on straight to camp.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the NFL. You say you're done playoffs. You're on your own. You don't go to the playoffs. You're done January 1st all the way through until April, middle of April. So you're on your own to do whatever you can in that time being. Then when you get to the lifting in the NFL, it's nowhere near as as rigorous, I would say. The training is much more tailored to, because at that point in the beginning, I think you might have, 80-something guys, Neil, is that right? 85 to 90 guys.
Yeah, they really start beefing it up once you hit like May and June. Then they start bringing all these no names in just to fill spots, essentially.
Yeah. And with being a strength and conditioning coach, you can, since you only have the players for really 8 weeks, there's not really a lot that they can do. So a lot of it's just they expect you to get your work done while you're off. So from January to April, you get your recovery in, and then you have to do everything. You have to find your own trainer to train yourself for 3 months, really. And then you kind of hit the ground running. They just see where you're at, see if you're in shape. You're not really making a lot of gains within that program, at least with the actual team. You make the majority of your gains with the guy you're training with.
Are you like refining your skill in football more so than trying to beef up, I guess I can say?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Not as much during that January, April time, but when you do get with the team, there's a lot more refinement of skills and explosive movements. A lot less strength training
Gotcha.
Than people would think.
Because I think once you get to the NFL, like you see training and getting ready for football is your job. Where in college, you're kind of split 50-50 between classes or whatever to training to football. Like once you hit the NFL and you see this kind of Hard Knocks or the Amazon Prime series with the Cardinals or something like that, like, guys have to be, training when everybody else isn't training, because your body is your job now. Your body is what's going to take you as long as it goes. So whatever you're doing, look at, LeBron James, who invests $1 million a year into his body, into his recovery. Even Tom Brady, Chris, you spent some time with Tom, like how regimented he is on taking care of himself, and look how long he's been playing.
Absolutely. And you alluded to diet. I think that was the biggest difference for me, was my eating regimen. Being with the team, that now having the finances to, buy food for myself and buy the proper food. That's where I think the leanness that you started to see in my body is where that really came into play.
Do you think that was because of the chefs too that you guys have in the NFL?
Yeah, I would say the chefs are great. Being in New England, I don't know how many chefs we had. You would go in and, you had breakfast, lunch, and dinner there during the off season. You just go and grab whatever you want, whatever you need. We had a registered dietitian on staff that would work with each player individually, specifically the ones who needed to lose weight or gain weight. If you were a middle guy where you just there was really no adjustment needed, they didn't work with you as much. But I remember the lady we had in Miami, I think her name is Mary Ellen Bingham. She was one of the greatest dietitians I had. I had actually lost weight due to my surgeries, and I was down to 280 pounds. And Miami wanted me heavier and leaner. And so I ended up, thanks to her, because she was on me, for 7 weeks straight, I gained 11 pounds of muscle and lost a pound of fat.
Wow.
7 weeks.
Wow. It's science. I'm doing a regiment like that for no-gi worlds for jiu-jitsu, and I started out at 217. I'm down underneath 208 and starting working my way back up to 215. I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm leaner than I've ever been. And, people who know what they're doing and, who take the time and are really good professionals doing this, like they can change people. Now, the hardest part is a person like me sticking to the regimen, eating 6-7 times a day, drinking 2.5 gallons or 2 gallons of water a day. Like that's tough. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, that is tough. And that was the one thing I loved about being a lineman is literally I go and I run my butt off and I just go home and I just a lot of times they're just like, Chris, you can eat whatever you really need to eat. so I would of the right things, eat as much as I want. And that's what I did in Miami. She said, you can eat these foods. You can literally eat as much as you want of this. And that's pretty much where I went. And
sorry, Neil, no cake and ice cream.
No, those were limited.
So let's go back to Houston as we're getting through the dog days of training camp. So you actually end up getting cut. You were part of the last round of cuts of that training camp. Like, did you feel it coming? Did you see it coming? And what's it like having the Turk come by and say, Coach needs to see you and bring your playbook?
The Turk, is that where'd that term from?
So the term the Turk is like like if you follow Italian history, kind of like the Godfather, the Turk is someone who's good with a knife, cutting people off. So people who come to get the players that tell them they're being cut are nicknamed the Turk.
We called them the Grim Reapers.
Like that one better.
But honestly, my rookie year, I had no clue. I was kind of oblivious. I thought, being a draft pick, I had some security. I was hurt. I strained my calf pretty good. I think it was 2 weeks into training camp, and I was out for about a week and a half. And I was trying to get back. I knew missing time wasn't good, so I kept trying to get back, and maybe came back a little too soon. I wasn't, that was a stupid decision on my part. But it was. I felt like I was okay, and then you get that that person walk by you, you see them take everybody else, and you know exactly what they're there for as soon as they come up to you at your locker. They try to be inconspicuous about it, but they can't. Everybody's there. They see you get pulled out. But it happened, and literally I felt like it was almost like hours later I got a call saying I'm going somewhere else. That's what it felt like at this point.
So is it like, do you find out first or does your agent find out first?
Me getting cut or getting picked up?
Getting cut.
So getting cut, I find out first.
Okay.
So they bring me up. As soon as it happens, I call my agent, say, hey, I got cut. Then we kind of start planning from there, and then that's when they start contacting teams, whatnot.
Yeah. Getting to work there. So yeah, like you said, you were going to the next place, which was Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. Tampa Bay picked you up before the season, but it only lasted 9 days. Like, was that were you still kind of nursing that injury and couldn't get on the field?
I don't think that was the biggest reason. I was still kind of recovering. I had the calf sleeve on. It wasn't 100%, but I felt good enough to go out there and play and do well. The reason they gave me is that they had a cornerback go down, or they needed to pick up another cornerback, and they said they needed to let somebody go, and I was that guy.
Yeah.
They cut me, and actually I was picked up the next day.
Which picked up by probably the best team you could get picked up by, the New England Patriots. So you started 2013, you're picked up by the Patriots, and what a better team. It's really hard to say that as a Colts fan, but what a team and a organization to be picked up by and learn from. And you're thinking about the guys that are on that roster, especially on that defense, even the coaching staff, like what, as a rookie, like there's no better situation you'd want to fall into. So how is it like you get to New England? Like, is it you've been at two teams already, even though it's relatively for a short time. Can you feel a cultural difference in teams, or is there a camaraderie difference between teams that you can feel?
The biggest thing really between Tampa and Houston, I wasn't in Tampa long enough to kind of get a feel for the difference there. The one biggest thing I usually tell people when you get to New England, you feel the atmosphere, the business-like atmosphere, the way everybody carries themselves, the way things are addressed, everything is just different there. The biggest thing you get to find out is that there's no players' lounge in New England. I don't know if very many people know that. You don't have a true players' lounge. They might have one now. I don't know if they petitioned for one or whatnot, but literally during training camp, you play basketball in the trash cans and lockers. That was your game. But they had film rooms. You had sleep rooms. There was nothing as far as any sort of lounging, leisurely room that you can go in. And obviously the training room, you go to the training room and take care of yourself. But you feel that, and you start to talk to players. They kind of just let you know how it is there. It's understood. You talk about how, they just move players around. It's because obviously they have a system, and that system going in, and players talk to you and they tell you, hey, this is just how things are. When you start to see guys move in and out, you find out really, really quick what the Patriot way is.
Good, bad?
For me, it was great. It fit my personality. I'm very much so just like go in, get my work done, get it in kind of guy. And it worked out for me. Obviously, Bill, very much so, businessman, and is the greatest coach to ever do it. And he always knows where to put people. And fortunately, he had a place for me. So.
Mm-hmm. So you come into a great situation, I believe. The defensive tackles at that point, one was Vince Wilforth. Who was the other? Was it Richard?
No, it was Tommy Kelly.
Tommy Kelly.
Played for the Raiders for a long time.
So you get to kind of sit and watch for a little bit, still getting some playing time, playing on special teams, like how it is in the NFL. If you want to make the field, you got to be playing at special teams. We've been taught that our entire life. If you want to get on the field, you start at special teams. Do whatever you want. Like my goal in life was, if I was ever going to make the NFL, I was going to be a wedge buster. Like I'm going to sprint down the field and throw my body into whoever for whatever reason. So, is it one of those things that, you're petitioning yourself to get on the field by just like hopping in line, or is it kind of like you got picked to play a little bit of special teams?
So me being a defensive tackle, special teams wasn't really in the cards for me, unfortunately. And it was always explained to us when we were Bowling Green. Coach Clausen's like, hey, if you guys want to make it, you got to be able to play special teams. Unfortunately, that wasn't my deal. 5'3" doesn't help that. But honestly, man, getting there, my whole mindset was just, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to work. I'm going to ask the right questions, make myself available, do what they need me to do. At that point, it was, like you said, it was Vince, Tommy, and then I think it was Marcus Forston. I don't know if you remember him. He was actually the number 1 defensive tackle coming out in our class. And then Joe Villano and myself. Those were the inner defensive linemen. Obviously, you had your Chandler Jones, Rob Ninkovich, all those guys that were in the room also. But as far as interior, those were the guys, and it moved pretty quick. I was inactive. It was funny because when I was with the Buccaneers, we played the Jets, and then Thursday on Sunday night, and then I got picked up by New England. We played the Jets on Thursday night, so I was inactive for both games, but I was there. And then we played the Buccaneers week 3. I was also inactive for that game. So I just did practice. I was pretty much like an active roster practice squad player at that point.
Yeah.
I think it was week 4, we went to play, I want to say, I forget who it was. I want to say it was the Saints or no, Atlanta. I remember that's when, or was it, do you remember, Caleb? I don't remember who the next game was.
I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
I want to say no, because Tommy got hurt first. So it would have been Cincinnati, I think. Oh no. Sorry, I keep going back and forth. It was Atlanta, because that's when Vince tore his Achilles.
Yes.
That was Atlanta, and then the very next game was against Cincinnati, and Tommy Kelly tore his ACL. So just like that, I end up finding my way into being a starter. I think it was week 6.
Yeah, it goes. So you went
Falcons week 4.
Week 4, week 5, Cincinnati,
Bengals.
then New Orleans.
Then New Orleans. Yeah. First start was against New Orleans.
So that's kind of that mentality of, next man up. You got to be ready to play. Like you said, like when I remember, you weren't seeing the field, and then, Tommy Kelly gets injured. You see a little bit, and then I hear Vince gets injured, and then you're kind of shoved into the mix. Like now I'm watching, my best friend just start on an NFL football game, and I'm like, holy bleep. Like it's go time. Like there's no easing into this. Like it's game time right now playing defensive tackle.
Yeah. It was Honestly, when I was sitting there inactive, my thought was, I don't know if I'm gonna make it here. I'm gonna keep going, but after Houston and Tampa getting cut, and I get to New England, I know, and I'm looking at their system like I've never done anything like this before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I fit in that system, but again, I just kept putting my head down and working, learning the playbook. And you're absolutely right. That next man up, that's huge, especially with the Patriot way. They look for whoever's going to be able to come in and do the work. And I think that there's no other organization that looks through their players and does the process like New England does, because they just bring in guys you would never think that would be able to start really anywhere else or play anywhere else, and they make it work.
Now,
is it a scheming thing?
Go ahead.
Or is it a scheming thing, or is it like they look for certain individuals to fit how they play, and then like to go off of that, like, did you feel like their scheming was set up for more success, more so than another team's playbook?
So I would say it's a little bit of both in what you're saying. I think when I ended up, it was because it was me and Joe Villano. Both of us were 290 pounds. And, they're used to having your Vince Wilfork, who's 330, 340 pounds, and Tommy Kelly, who's 320. So at that point, obviously, neither one of us had played in a true 3-4 system. And that's where I think Matt Patricia is a genius. He sees us and he's able to make adjustments on the fly. And obviously we had packages at that point, but he ended up implementing certain packages that worked with us. We ended up playing more of a 4-3 combination. I remember being moved around from nose to 3 technique, obviously to shade, to 5 technique. Sometimes I was even out at 9 techniques. So I was just moved around a bunch. I think they do that in practice to see if they can trust you doing it, and then they just go from there. So there's a lot of planning that they have in the system over there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the greatest thing that New England did was bring Matt Patricia back for that defense.
I remember you telling me that he's a legit rocket scientist and he's so smart. I remember we were training in the off season one time, and that you told me that, and that always stuck with me. Like you see him on the sidelines with his beard and his pencil in his ear, like, and you telling me that, I was like, wow, this guy's, look at Chris, like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, guy is very, very smart. Legitimate rocket scientist. Like that's what he got his degree in was. I think it was like aeronautical engineering or something crazy like that. Something ridiculous.
That's crazy.
But to continue with what you were saying, Neil, later on they started drafting guys that they wanted, like they liked the 4-3 system. So I think that's when they decided to bring in Dominique Easley, very 4-3 kind of guy. But obviously things didn't work out with Dominique as well as I think they had hoped, and that's when they go and they draft Malcolm Brown. We bring Malcolm Brown in and Alan Branch, and those guys are both massive human beings, and they play a different style of football. That's where even when I got cut, like Bill's like, hey, we're just going a different way with our defensive line, as you can tell. So he's very respectful about it, but he gave me, the reason what he was doing and when he was doing it. Gave me a chance to get on with the team, and was very honest about, they're just going a different way with the defensive line. So
for sure. But in 2013, we mentioned that draft class earlier. As a rookie, you're second in that draft class in sacks that year, leading that draft class for a long time in sacks, and then ended up getting passed at the very, very end. But, not bad for a 6th-round draft pick who got let go by 2 teams at the very beginning. You end up getting, the second most sacks out of anybody out there. And, I named off some of those players, and those are big-time guys.
Yeah. I remember specifically. I'm pretty sure it was Sheldon who ended up getting – didn't he end up getting more than 6?
I believe it's Sheldon, yes.
Sheldon and I had a pretty good relationship. We trained together at IMG, and we ended up kind of becoming fond of each other throughout our time in the league. But, 6 sacks. Honestly, I didn't see it coming.
Did you ever get a sack that you were like, holy cow, I just sacked Andrew Luck?
Throughout my whole career?
Yeah.
F off, Neil.
I would say, I think the one that always sticks out with me is Aaron Rodgers. I got I sat to Aaron Rodgers and I'm like, man, this guy's one of the best to ever
Did
do
you
it.
tell him he's a douche and he sucks? Big
Oh my
wiener.
goodness. No. No. I am very much so not a trash talker when it comes to I'm very much so a breather. I just try to get my breath.
So we got a question from the audience from Mikey Ray. Was Bill loved by most or just respected?
I would say definitely respected. There's a lot of guys that really just you can even hear it in the media sometimes that just did not like Bill. Like I said, you have to come in with a certain mentality. He likes those guys who are about the work, about the grind, who are willing to learn. If you're one of those adaptable kind of people, he's all about helping you. If you're one of those guys who comes in, you're all about yourself and your success, your money, all that stuff. He honestly just isn't always there and willing. Which, understandably, if you want to have guys who are, if you want to build a championship team, you want some guys who are about the team, not as much about yourself. So
Yeah,
guys who didn't like him were more or less those guys.
Yeah, you have guys with different agendas. Like I've heard a lot of former players say that, there are guys who don't really love football who are in the NFL who just want it for the money. And that's, it's hard to imagine that, but some people are just, God-given athletic freaks that can play the game of football, and that's what they do for a job. So, I can understand Bill's point of building a team around guys who love football, who love to work, who love to learn. Like, we see the same thing in racing. If you don't have a team that's experienced, that loves to race, that loves the grind, like you're going to lose a lot of races.
Right. Absolutely.
So we move on. Let's go a couple seasons down the road. So you're on the Super Bowl winning team against Seattle. So funny story. We're in the same place at the same time. We're testing in Phoenix, Arizona. The Super Bowl's in Phoenix, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Chris's hotel is 5 minutes from me. So we go have dinner at this steak place. And is it the week of the Super Bowl or is it a couple days before the Super Bowl?
I want to say it was earlier in that week. Like it might have been Tuesday.
And while we're at dinner, you tell me that your leg or your calf or something's jacked up on your leg. And I'm thinking, dude, this is the biggest game of your life, of anybody who's ever played football wants to play in a Super Bowl. And you're like, man, I don't know what to do. And I'm watching the Super Bowl and opening kickoff. Who do I see sprinting down the field? I'm like, well, doesn't matter if he's hurt or not. He's going.
How many shots of Toradol did you have that game?
Toradol.
500 cc's.
No, honestly, I had my I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about this on here, but I had the Toradol, and I think I had 1.5 Vicodin before the game.
Pat McAfee talks about it all the time. Like,
yeah.
I remember seeing the divisional championship game against the Texans. 30 guys lined up outside the doc's office, ready to get their Toradol shots. So I was like, so for me, I know it happens. I know everybody's getting it.
I had two wonderful. It was either Vicodin or Oxy before we played Illinois State, because I had broke 3 or 4 ribs on my right side. And I'm like, there's no way I'm about to play in this game, because every time I would get touched, it would take the wind out of me. So I was just like, I'll take him. Let's go. It's one of those sacrifices that, I'm going to play in this game, especially, Chris, in your position, it's the Super Bowl. You chop my leg off. I'll hobble down there. I'm not getting off this. So, it's a great game. You're in the final play. So let's be honest. Are you thinking that it's going to be a run play?
Initially because I was in that play with the crazy catch.
Yeah.
Went out, and then obviously Dante had that amazing stop on Lynch, and then we came back in with goal line. We thought they were going to run the ball. Obviously, there was something about their demeanor. If you watch the highlight video, I think it's in the DVD. We end up going with a different goal line package at the very last second because they saw the personnel, and Bill the whole time is watching Carroll on the sideline. And there's something kind of iffy just about the stance. I thought they were going to run it because, I mean, they're in shotgun no matter what to run the ball.
You have Marshawn Lynch. Why would you not run it?
But then I'm looking at the tackle, whatever his name is, I was lining up against the right tackle because he ended up playing center the next year. But he doesn't seem like he's actually, you get those before the snap reads. I'm like, this guy's not going anywhere. He's not firing off. They start pass set, and we're like, okay. Obviously in that moment in time, you're just going, you're reacting. And then they throw the ball, and obviously Malcolm makes the best play in Super Bowl history, maybe NFL history. Which is a combination of him and Brandon Browner, obviously. But yeah, that was but I'll say beforehand, there was a little bit of an inkling. Personally, I didn't completely know if they were going to run or pass. But Bill knew all the way.
That's crazy because, we're all watching the game and we think, we're getting down the goal line set. You have Marshawn Lynch, who's a freaking tank. Like, why not? Why are you not going to hand it off to him? But, they throw the interception. There's the shot of you jumping up and celebrating, which is awesome. Yeah. And then you get, all the cool press, like you have the newspaper. Like, what is that moment like of, especially since none of us, a very, very small niche of this world will ever get to experience that. And, you have guys who've played 20 years in the NFL who've never even won a playoff game. Like you win a Super Bowl. Like, what is that feeling that you've accomplished the highest thing in professional sports or playing football?
Man, honestly, I don't think you understand the feeling until you get about a week and a half out from the game, because the whole next week you're still living that moment almost, if that makes sense. You go through the parade. I went to like the Bruins game, the Celtics game. You go through this whole like agenda you have for the next week. You're still living on this high. And I think you finally come down and you're able to realize a week and a half later, like, wow, this is everything that you worked for in this game. Really, you just accomplished it. But in that specific moment, I remember just having this full rush of emotions. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to cry, if I wanted to laugh. It was just one of those crazy experiences that it's just surreal. You can't even, I don't have enough words or, emotions to really describe what that felt like. I always say, it's up there. It's pretty close to the birth of all three of my sons, but I have to give them the edge because those are my baby boys. But yeah, dude, it's surreal. It's a very unique experience. Like you said, very few people get to experience that, and it's very, very unique.
For sure. And then, it's the Deflategate year, so you make the Super Bowl rings for your middle fingers.
Yes.
Neil. So Deflategate year, not like, Ryan Grigson can go suck one. He's the worst GM in NFL history. He should be like washing cars right now. But the Super Bowl ring, it's a monstrosity. I remember putting it on, and it covers like my other two fingers. It's an amazing piece that you see, like when you're growing up playing football, like that and the Lombardi Trophy are the two things you take away of, if I ever can achieve that in the game, that is what I want. Mm-hmm. And to finally achieve it, like that could be, to me, being the fanatic that I am, that's like the most prized possessions I could have before, my son's born. But I still got some time for that. So I will say other things until then. She can't hear me. She's in the other room. But like, I've been to Canton. I see the Super Bowl trophy, the next year that's going to get built, and like to touch it, to be so close to it. Like, that's what you want to achieve. And, you got to hold it. You got to, kiss the trophy. You have a Super Bowl ring. Like, you achieve the highest thing. So that is, an amazing accomplishment. And then, now you got to, does it motivate you to want to win another one? Or you kind of feel like, I got here, I'm kind of content with what I got?
You know what? My whole trip after that was a little unique. We talked about the injury. I would say at that point, I absolutely wanted to win another one. That was my initial motivation. Because I had felt the feeling before, that year before, what it was like to go home without it, or going, we obviously lost in Denver in the AFC Championship game. That was a completely different feeling on that plane ride home compared to the winning of the Super Bowl. I mean, you don't feel the pain for a couple days after that. You still are just living that high, and a lot of that in the year prior to that, you just go home and you've never felt more sore in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely gave me a lot more motivation to win another one. But time after that, there's some different challenges that I was handling that kind of kept me from feeling that.
Yeah. So after that season, I believe you have off-season surgery, and that kind of puts you out of the entire next season.
Mm-hmm.
So lower leg injury, you're going through rehab. We're kind of seeing it, because I know I was kind of like keeping up on you, kind of seeing what's going on, and Patriots say that they're moving in a different direction. So you end up going to Miami next.
Mm-hmm.
Miami next, and I feel like back when we were in high school, your favorite team was Miami. Growing up when we were in high school, you always had Miami gear on. I was like, dude, you're from Michigan and you play college football in Ohio, and your favorite team's in Florida. Like, none of this makes sense.
Warm, dude.
But do you, man? just do you. So playing in Miami, like, how is that? Like, I always feel like I was a Miami Hurricane fan, and I still am, even though they got destroyed by Bama this weekend.
That's not their fault, though. Alabama's just that much better than everybody.
I know. But like, how's like Miami Heat like playing football in?
Miami Heat?
Yeah.
I can tell you this right now, it's nowhere near as bad as Houston Heat.
Really?
You get a very, very nice breeze there in Davie, Florida. You just get a nice breeze from the ocean. For some reason in Houston, you got nothing. And you're just sitting there, and you're just sitting in your humid sweat mess like all day. Everybody's inside. Nobody wants to be outside there. It's just, it really wasn't too bad. I enjoyed being in Miami. As far as the weather goes, what I liked about it is it didn't change. You knew exactly what you were getting pretty much every day. Maybe rain. There might be rain every once in a while.
So in that situation, I'm trying to remember who was there. Was Cameron Wake there while you were there?
Yes, he was recovering from his Achilles.
Okay. And kind of tell me about that Miami situation, because you ended up having, was it 2 stints in Miami?
Yeah, so I got there in April. They cut me right after training camp, and then they picked me up a week later.
Okay. Because let's see, you ended up wearing 52, because I have 2 gamers in there in my closet. So did you? I'm trying to remember kind of that season. Was it the full season with Miami?
No, so that would have been 2016. I played, I think, through the beginning of November, the first 8 weeks with Miami, or really 7 weeks, and then I got cut, and that's when I got picked up by San Fran.
So I thought, so when you go to San Fran, this is another thing that I kind of want to get into. Like, it felt to me, so you were there, a short time going in, but you ended up becoming a team captain. Like, tell me about that.
Oh, so when I got to San Francisco, you're talking about San Francisco, correct?
Yeah.
So when I got to San Francisco, there was a little bit of a rough way at that point. I think Chip was in his second season there, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I think we were 1-7 when I got there. And we only ended up winning one more game. But at that point, just being who I was and kind of at the point I was at, I was just trying to prove myself still, that I was still able to do it. And so when I got there, even though we were losing, I was still going in and had the mindset of getting better. I wanted to play. I wanted to start. And I ended up starting, I think 2 games in. I was inactive again for 2 weeks or 1 week, and I ended up playing and starting in the next week. So I think it was a game I was a game captain for the next game. I think it was second to last game of the season. So
I remember it had to have been around the San Francisco time, because that's when I think me and Stacy came over to the house and we went to go get B-dubs.
Yes.
And so, we're driving to go get B-dubs, and Chris's phone's plugged in to his car, and the text messages are coming across the top, and Solomon Thomas comes over the screen, and he was a first round draft pick, and I'm thinking, freaking Solomon Thomas is texting Chris. Like, this is badass. Like, all the dudes that like I'm looking up to, like, my other people do the same thing to me, like Bill Goldberg and Killer Mike, as I name drop people like Bone Crusher and stuff like that, people who are in my phone. But like, I have more entertainers than athletes, and I'm like, dude, that'd be so cool to hang out and train with these guys. But so when we're starting to come up towards the end of your career, do you know that you've had a lot of injuries, a lot of surgeries? Like, is it you that makes that decision, or is it your body just saying, I can't do it anymore?
No, it's kind of a well-rounded combination of all of those. Obviously, having the surgeries didn't help. I wasn't moving nearly as well as I used to be able to move, and a lot of that was part of my game, was my shiftiness and my ability to react, and I just didn't have a lot of that. Then going from team to team, not sticking, and having a family, and there was a combination of a lot of life things that were going on, and I ended up just talking to my agent, actually, and I was like, these are my thoughts. I'm not sure how much more I can really go here. I've been pushing it, and at this point, I had my groin surgery, and I had retorn my groin, like, I think it was 3 times during my rehab, and the last one was real bad, and I just wasn't moving the same. And I talked to my agent. He said, normally in these situations, Chris, what we try to do is, we give it a time frame. The start of the season, I had played my last preseason game with San Fran, got cut, went back home, stayed there for a week, called him, said, hey, this is what I normally do. We usually pick a date, and if you're done, you're done. If nobody picks you up, we'll just call it at that point. So we ended up setting a date for, I think it was October 11th, and this is the end of August. I gave myself about 5-6 weeks. Nobody called him, nobody called me. Ended up just kind of calling it at that point. It was a combination of a lot of things. I'm a big family man. I don't like being away from my family, so I hated having to travel out to every other state and missing my kids growing up, and just leaving them with my wife, and obviously just not being able to move anymore. It was all kind of hit me at once.
But are you more relieved that it's over, that you now get to spend time with your family, or is it kind of like one of those things, like when I was done playing football, like, that's all I ever wanted to do my entire life. So it was tough for me even to go to the Colts games or to watch football for a little bit. Did you experience that same thing, or was it more of like, I'm at peace?
There was one specific time, I think it was during that last preseason game with San Francisco, when I knew I wasn't going to make the team. It was kind of at that point, because I had played enough to know where I sat as far as the roster went. Still playing hard, not being able to move. I was sitting on the sideline, just kind of looking up at the stands and just thinking, what, I think this is probably going to end up being the last game of my career. And I remember just tearing up. You play football for 21 years. I think at that point it's 21 years of my life, 28 years. So you're talking about a good majority of my life. I played football, and it was a huge part of my life. And I started tearing up and just kind of coming to that realization. I think it hit me for the whole next week or so, and then it started to kind of trickle as we got to that October time frame. And then honestly, at that point, I had already kind of had a plan on what I was going to do next. I was ready to go, and but there was definitely about a good month where it kind of hit me hard. You do something for so long, it's hard to let it go. It's like you build a relationship with it.
You build a relationship, and I know for me, it's like you're used to being on a certain regiment, like a certain. I need to be here at this time, do this at this time. Like once you get done with that, it's kind of hard to get back into the grooves with things. And I think, you could say this to or about a lot of football players, like when they leave the game, their life, they try to figure out how to keep that same structured regimen of what we've been doing for 28 years, and for me, 22 seasons. Like, I go, in my personal life now, it's wake up, go to work, go to the gym, come home, be with the family, this and just try to keep the same regimen. And if something gets thrown off, it kind of messes with you a little bit, but you got to be able to adapt, adjust, and overcome like things that we've been taught growing up. Like it all molds us into who we are today. So, you'd said that you kind of had a plan, you were thinking towards the next thing in your life, and kind of like jump back in. I know you were always big into strength and conditioning. You were always big into weightlifting. We have the junior power Olympic team that we all tried to be on, that me and Tommy weren't just like, we weren't as big or as strong, but we gave it a shot. So you ended up doing some sports performance stuff. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I was rehabbing at St. Vincent Sports Performance at Clay Terrace in Carmel, and ended up building a good relationship with the staff there. So when I ended up getting certified as a strength coach, actually in July, before I got to San Fran for my last stint playing football. So I got certified as a strength and conditioning coach. And in November, I got hired on part-time at St. Vincent's, and I had talked to my past coach, Dave Clausen at Bowling Green, about my aspirations, what I want to do with my life, and he told me flat out, Chris, whenever we have a position here open, I'm going to give you a call. Okay. Fast forward to literally, I think it was New Year's Day. We were in Tennessee. We're at the Grand Ole Opry with my family, and I get a call from Coach Clausen. Say, hey, how things going? Good. Did that whole thing, and say, hey, we have a position here as assistant strength coach if you want to take it. At that point, we're trying to settle in back here in Indiana, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to my wife about this one, and end up talking to her, and I explained what the opportunity was like, and where this sets us, and we ended up taking advantage of it. We moved down to Winston-Salem, and I became an assistant strength coach at Wake Forest for about a year and a half. So, and I really enjoyed my time there. I loved it. And I still am super passionate about strength and conditioning. As you know, what Coach Neese was to us. And, I give him a lot of, for me in my development, I give him so much credit, because I think if I don't make the move down to Brownsburg, obviously, and get around you guys and get around Coach Neese, I don't think my career is anywhere near where it's at, honestly.
I think, guys
Just
like
to be clear, it was all Coach Neese. It was not Brett Comer. I just want to make that clear.
Facts. Yeah. And I think you can take this away from, most players, is the bond that they're going to get the most with is with the strength coach, because that's who we spend the most time with. I can think of, Brian Neese, and then when I went to ISU, Dave McManus are the two closest guys that my development, not only as a football player or an athlete, but even as a man, like those are the guys that push you to the limit and show you what you can become. So I agree with you. Like if it's not for those guys in our lives, and, Neil, you were a big part of the weightlifting program at Brownsburg. Like, that's what turns us into who we are. Yeah.
And man, and you talk about college strength coach. I'm a big emotional guy. You know this. I mean, anytime we lose a game, we just sit there and our eyes would just be filled with tears. And I remember at Bowling Green, we actually lost our strength coach who had been at Bowling Green for 10 years. He ended up leaving, going to Michigan. But I remember what kind of hit that was to us as a team, to myself. He was just one of those guys who was super into development, not only as a player, as a lifter, but as a person. And you talk about how important those guys are to a team and to success as a program. Like they're it, man. Like,
for sure.
For me, it was just having that coach who was always there pushing you. Because we ended up losing our defensive line coach, I think, a little bit after that. But I didn't really feel the same kind of attachment. I didn't feel the same emotion of losing him as I did losing Coach Hillman when he left.
For sure. We'll wrap it up kind of with one more set of questions, especially since, our podcast is kind of teetered towards the sports card world. We're huge football fans. Our number one topic is talking football, but sports cards, I know you're not a big sports card guy, but you did sign for Panini. You had a 2013 Select Series. You had a National Treasures card. I think that's it. But how does that come to be for you? Kind of, a late round draft pick. Like, does your agent say, hey, you signed with this trading card company, you got to sign all these things for us, like, or you're going to be on a trading card? Like, how does that process work?
And I kind of remember this specifically. My agent did get with me about it. This is something that went through him. That, hey, we have this opportunity to, you can make this amount of money if you sign these cards. And he's like, it's through Panini. And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, yeah, cool. I can sign all these cards. Absolutely. Remember they send you like this big old packet. So you don't really get to see the cards. They send you this packet of like stickers. You get this massive packet of stickers. And I'm sitting there signing 1,000 little stickers. So I'm going down like, oh my goodness, my hand is like cramping. I'm sitting here massaging my hand. I'm sitting at my kitchen table for like 3 hours signing these, 1,000 stickers. But
so were they all sticker autos, or did you ever sign anything on card?
I'm trying to think. Honestly, I don't remember. I remember signing the stickers. I don't remember actually signing any specific card.
Because honestly, I have over 100 of the base cards that are signed. I have the entire rainbow. So the rainbow set is you're out of 99, you're out of 75, you're out of 50, you're out of 25, 10, 5, and the 1 of 1. So I have multiples of each except for the 1 of 1. Obviously, there's only one of those. So, anytime I would see your card on eBay or CompC or any places where we go look for cards, I would snag it. I would, pay way too much money for it. Man, your cards were at some points were going between $1.50 and $28. That's back then before the market boom, it was pretty good. For a relatively not Aaron Rodgers guy.
I like the way you put that.
I mean, now we see card. Me and Neil got tens of thousands of dollars worth of cards, but like what we call PCs in the sports card community, which is personal collection. I collect primarily you, because you only had the Patriots card. You had you weren't on any other teams with card companies, and Tucker. So you and Tucker, since we're all close friends, like those are my 2 PC cards. Like
you have the select ones, right?
I have all the select ones, and I have
in the Patriots uniform in select.
Yes, and I have I have the national treasures also. I have the national treasures from 99 to 5. So, and my deal with that was I'm going to collect all these. So when Chris's kids get old enough and they figure some things out, they can have them all. So it's for your sons, whenever they get to that point where like they think it would be cool, they can have them all. And there's hundreds of them that I have, and they're all either graded, encased, all the whole shebang bang. And same thing for Tucker once his son gets. But for us being card guys, like that's cool. Like I'm trying to work on a deal with Panini or Leaf, the 2 major trading card companies, to do something with drag racing, and it's a slow, painful process, but hopefully we get that done. But because now there's like people are making a living on trading cards, like
oh yeah,
millions of dollars in a single card. It's crazy. So
well, I appreciate that, brother, by the way. Thank you for doing that. I know I always love it.
That, and I have 7 of your gamer jerseys in there too that I need you to sign.
Yeah, I finally got a Dolphins jersey off of eBay to give to my grandmother. So Caleb keeps buying all these jerseys, and I need those jerseys.
So funny story, Neil. There's one of his jerseys on eBay. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get it. And he texts me. He goes, "Are you bidding on this jersey?" I said, "Maybe." "Why?" He goes, "I need this for my grandmother. Like, don't bid on this jersey." I said, all right, I got you. We're good.
Oh, man.
I think I got 3 Dolphins and 4 Patriots jerseys. So I think I've only had you sign 1, so we're gonna have to change that up because I need some more decor. I have my 3 college jerseys, so I just need your NFL jerseys. And I'm still waiting on a bat from Tucker, but that's neither here nor there. I'll hit him up sometime. You're way more important to me than Tucker is. Don't tell him I said that.
I appreciate that.
Hope he doesn't
So-
listen to the podcast.
No, he doesn't live. He's got bigger things to do. He's out there signing deals and doing all kinds of things. But
He's still with the Reds, right?
he is still with the
Yeah.
Reds. He won another Gold Glove.
Really?
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. He signed a 4-year, like $19-20 million deal. I think this is the last year of his contract. They keep bringing in guys or keep bringing guys up that kind of look like they're going to replace him. But Tuck, man, his batting's so, but as a catcher, he throws missiles. If guys try to steal on him, he's destroying him. So, Tuck's doing good. He's got a nice family, nice looking family, got a nice house. Good for him. He's living the dream.
I remember seeing him and Gordon actually at St. Vincent's. I think we were all rehabbing at some point. It was when Gordon he had hurt his ankle, ankle real bad. And then Tuck ended up coming in there. He was training with the guys there as well.
So I can't remember the older guy's name, but his wife, one of the guys there at St. Vincent's that trained with you and Tuck, his wife actually worked at the same salon as Stacy, and I met him at a Christmas party and started talking to him. And I told him, I'm friends with Chris, and he goes, "Oh, I know Chris Jones. I train Chris Jones, and he's one of the nicest guys I've ever been around." I'm like, wow, small world. Like everybody knows everybody, kind of, but that was good. So
Was it Greg?
I don't remember. Older guy, like looked like a doctor. Older guy.
Glasses?
Yes,
Oh, it must have been Daryl. It had to be Daryl.
could have.
I remember Daryl.
You remember Daryl Barnes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Daryl was my guy. That's who I
Yeah.
worked with when I was rehabbing.
Oh,
Yeah. I did a small internship with Daryl.
Did you really?
Daryl,
Oh,
and then who's the other guy I did?
There was
never
Daryl.
mind. My wife is watching. Last name is Moore.
Greg.
No.
Greg Moore.
Greg Moore, yeah. Greg, his daughters actually went to Brownsville. Played.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I won't yell across the room, but thanks, babe, for helping us out there.
Yeah, he's actually the strength coach now at Butler. He went to Vanderbilt. Now he's the head strength coach at Butler.
Yeah. Yes, I remember him going there for a bit, and but yeah. So, well, Chris, we've wasted way too much of your time for a podcast that no one's ever going to listen to. Just kidding. We have like 58 downloads so far of our podcast. Thank you for everybody who listens on Spotify. We have the Facebook page. We have, me and Neil's Twitter. We have multiple Instagram accounts at Showtime Sports Cards, at Doughboy Sports Cards 1. Chris doesn't have social media, so don't bother him with that. You got to listen to that interview exclusively on our social media and or Spotify. So Neil, thanks for champing this out with the flu game.
That's right. I'm the real MVP here, guys.
You're the real MVP. Think about that shirt right there. I think I got rid of all my hit of the week shirts from Brownsburg. I have no
Well,
idea.
this is the only one I ever won, so I was like, I got to at least keep one of them, right?
But so
Chris probably's got 40 of them.
quick story. So I saw Kyle Scott this weekend at the U.S. Nationals.
Really?
So Kyle Scott has just got it. He's getting out of the Navy. He's been on a nuclear submarine for the last 5 years. He's super jacked. Dude still wears his middle school undefeated sweatshirt. Me and Tommy also still wear that sweatshirt. It's so weird that I'm 30 years old now and that still fits me big. Like what size was that when I was in 8th grade? Why am I still wearing this thing? But whatever. So once again, appreciate Chris for all your time, brother. Obviously you're in town. We needed to get together either at the gym, at the house. I love food. You love food. Let's make a date of it. Neil, you are way too far away. I'm not driving 4 hours to see you
It's 3 hours. It's
unless
in Columbus.
unless there is food.
I'm pretty
and-
sure I'm closer to Bowling Green than I am to Indianapolis.
I drive past Bowling Green all the time when I gotta go race in Norwalk. So because there's a Chipotle. There's a Chipotle right across the street from the football stadium that me and Cruz used to stop at all the time when we were going up there. So fun fact for those of you who drive a lot. Go Chipotle. It's a really good Chipotle too. So appreciate it again. Remember, thanks to our sponsors, protectyourslabs.com, Slab Protector, and Graded Card Solutions. Go to gradedship.com. Got another episode coming to you next Monday. We got another special guest, so keep looking at the social media pages to find out who it is. So one more time, thank you, Neil, for joining us once again. Thank you, Chris Jones, Super Bowl champion. You can never take that away. We'll see you guys later. Peace.
Peace.